Oh, it's helpful if you could see me instead of a black square rectangle. Sorry, excuse me. 16 by 9, folks. Hello. Welcome to L2PS2 episode 29 here on March 9th, 2015. I actually felt like summer today after all of the frigid cold in the Northeast. It's been ridiculous, and then it was 50 today, and I was sweating. I had the AC on anyway. But I digress. Welcome. L2PS2 is a infantry training camp sort of show here on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the official twitch.tv/planetside2 channel. It's also hosted over on my channel at ItZMuRdA.com or twitch.tv/ItZMuRdA_TV. That's where I stream most of the rest of the week, time permitting as well, so you can catch me over there other nights if it happens to not be Monday. And you can also watch these usually about a week or so after they air as VODs on my YouTube channel as well, where I upload them there. You can get all of that info from the ItZMuRdA.com redirect if you just scroll down below the stream. Anyway, who am I? I'm ItZMuRdA, right? That's a good answer. These are my four main characters in PlanetSide 2. I've been just a huge fan of the PlanetSide franchise and series forever, literally for 12 years now. Since PlanetSide 1 beta way back in the day, and I've been playing PlanetSide 2 since the very beginning. And I focus primarily on infantry, like 98% of the time, infantry gameplay, which is why that's what this show is about. And yeah, I try to give you guys a little bit of an insight into the decisions that I make, things that I do, stuff that I choose, as far as loadouts, certs, attachments, fights, anything soup to nuts that I can think of, or that you guys can think of. I always, what's up, MSD? Thanks for stopping by, man. I always have, the chat open on one whole monitor dedicated to you guys for any questions that you may have. I am happy to try and answer. I do have giveaways, speaking of which, I try to do about 2 or so each week. One is a polar bear decal, which you cannot really see all the, there it is. My polar bear logo that you see up in the top right hand corner of the screen made, immortalized into a decal in-game. I give away one of those each week. You can also get them for subscribing on my channel over on my Twitch page. And yeah, I also think I still have one more deep freeze snowball gun for now, and then I'll have to go back into the archives of codes and see what I can scrounge up, what I might still have to give away. I may have some more snowball guns somewhere tucked away, but I don't have any of the platinum NS weapons at the moment, sorry to say. I am going to hop in game. I have had this craving to finish up the Beetlejuice, which I'm not terribly close to, but I've been trying to do that on my VS Emerald character. Long overdue, with like 50,000 kills on this character, and I don't even have a Beetlejuice, so you can see how little I play heavy. But with the recent changes to the heat-based directive weapons for VS, I want to get more of them, and I do have the Eclipse, but Beetlejuice would be the next logical step there. Am I, for whatever reason, not hearing my own sound here? Am I crazy? I'm crazy. Sorry if you're double hearing sound. There we go. Oh, but now I'm hearing myself talk. That's interesting. Forgive me for some on-air troubleshooting here. Yeah, pretty sure I shut that off. Alright, whatever. Well, we can do it live like that. I'm pretty sure you guys can still hear everything. I'll figure my crap out later on. That's very odd. I don't know why that happened. As for the do I ever fly? Not really. I mean, I do as transportation and as farming some stuffs from now and then, every so often on the ground and whatnot. But I'm not terribly good at it. I'm okay. I'm above average, I guess, but I'm not an ace pilot or anything like that. I was much better at flying in PS1 than I am in PS2. Real quick, the map colors, just in case, because somebody always asks if I don't mention it first. I use a pretty odd setup of gray for friendlies and 2 different shades of red for enemies, just to differentiate between the 2 opposing factions. Since I play all 3 factions, I just find that that's most intuitive for me to quickly identify friendly or foe. So I'm just flipping through some fight options here. Not a ton of choices for VS. I may hop on and play something else just because I tend to try to prefer looking for defensive fights. And we don't have a whole lot, if any, of those right now. Looking for reinforcements needed, and there aren't any popping up there. Yes, shoutouts to VAC. It causes me just as much frustration as it does enjoyment. I, as a result, I don't think I want to go to this tab. I can just to get the action flowing. You guys have game sound, right? Yeah. I, as a result, don't have my game sound right now. I don't know why. But I'm not going to mess with it on air at the moment. I'll figure it out. All my that's the beauty of VAC, or really anything for that matter. All of my setup is the same that it always is. It's somehow magically, I either don't have game sound, or oh, I have Icarus jump jets. I was like, what's happening? Forgot about that. Or you guys were also hearing an echo, and I was hearing myself, which is just very beautiful. So I don't recommend playing without game sound, just because that's you know, a huge part of you know, learning audio cues. Even just things like learning what your empire's cloaks sound like, since all 3 infiltrator cloaks sound a little bit different from one another, and then being able to tell you know, at a glance if it's a friendly or an enemy cloaking near you. You can also listen for jump jets, max footsteps, and you know, other sorts of more minute details that are hugely important. So I recommend trying to, for the most part, unless you're just clowning around having fun, but if you're trying to maximize, you know, potentially even investing in good audio equipment, but aside from that, paying close attention to audio cues, not having music going, and things like that. So yeah, new jump jets. Yeah, Icarus jump jets, if anybody remembers them from the original beta, alpha, tech test, whatever it was that had them. They've been redesigned a bit, and they're in the game, and on live servers. You can buy them for your light assault, and they're pretty interesting. So as you can tell, they get some very fast, this is max rank, very fast upward vertical momentum, and they also recharge really fast. As a result of that, they've got almost no forward momentum or ability to reposition yourself while in the air. You kind of need to be in a sprinting jump of sorts to even just cover the smallest gap like that. You're not going to be flying around like you would with the normal jump jets. And for that reason, the default ones are probably a better, you know, all-around, you know, option for you to use. But since these are new, I'm still trying them out, getting used to them. They definitely have their merits in situations where they are especially useful. Like everything does, right? But the default is certainly more balanced than these guys are in terms of like a balanced usefulness in various situations. But if you're assaulting, you know, say an amp station or a tower, or you know, some sort of vertical attack, these can be extremely useful. Even in a defensive situation where there's a lot of verticality involved, like a base like this or a tower or something like that, you can kind of evade people pretty easily by just, you know, popping off of things and, you know, changing your altitude, be it vertically up or down for that matter, pretty quickly. So if you can learn the gaps, if you can mind the gap on, you know, how much. Like, I'm not going to make that, for instance, but oh, I just pinched it out given how fast they recharge. Then you're in reasonably decent shape, and you can be pretty aggressive as well as pretty evasive with them. You just got to be careful. The other odd thing I should say about them is that at the peak of your jump, you're kind of like right here. You're kind of a little bit of a floating duck. I called it, I believe. which is a little bit odd. It's really easy for somebody to take you down, and given that lack of momentum while you're midair with them, you can't really position a whole lot. I was joking and, you know, kind of saying I'd love in a, I'm not even joking, but I know it's not going to happen. I'd love in a, like an arena FPS style dodge forward, that, you know, like you can hit your sprint bind or whatever, and at the peak of your jump just dodge in a direction. That'd be awesome, because it would change up the gameplay and, you know, kind of provide for some sort of feedback or input that you can have to avoid just being the floating duck at the peak of your jump if somebody's looking at you. With that being said, I've gotten used to them enough. I don't know that I constantly run them over regular jump jets. I mean, sometimes it feels like their benefit is just wasted, if you will. But there's a floating duck of my own. But oh, I totally forgot that I mentioned it. But yeah, it's that sort of thing that these guys are experiencing at the apex of their jump pad over here. A few different reasons, Gardini. Nothing really major. I mostly played that character to play with Future Crew, and lots of times we don't do as many large-scale ops and things like that as we used to. I also get significantly worse ping. It's actually the worst server for ping for me other than Briggs. With directives and things like that, I found myself wanting to work on finishing things like the Beetlejuice directive on this character, and who was significantly closer to it and stuff like that. So, I don't know, a few different reasons. Nothing major. Nothing, you know, particularly holding me back from it, but unless I have specific reason to, I end up just playing on it all these days. Yeah, MSD, if you don't mind me still calling you that, since I can't break it. Absolutely. If you have better solutions for me than the audio setup I use, we can certainly talk about that. Because it's been a bit of a hassle over the years. I think I finally got it, you know, pretty tame. I don't know what specifically is going on right now. I'm sure it's something simple that I'm neglecting that I can fix. But yeah, no, we can certainly discuss. I always appreciate feedback. This is just kind of an odd issue that I haven't had happen before, although I think it might have something to do with the fact that I was messing around with some different games that didn't have the ability to change your audio output. So I probably just forgot to toggle something back on. I feel bad for some of these guys that I'm just killing over and over. That's not exactly terribly compelling gameplay right here, but nonetheless, here I am. So I'm going to try to avoid that max. Let's see what else is going on. Oh boy.
Generator destroyed.
Yeah, I do like that they increased the cert cap for members to 50,000. In a way, it makes certs almost seemingly irrelevant because I just, like when Icarus jump jets come out, I have the I guess benefit of just being able to pick them up real quick, so that's cool. I always like banking them for things like that, but the rest of the time it's like I don't even spend them on minor things anymore because it's like, well, I'll just keep gaining more and more, so it's almost a little silly at a certain point. But this is very interesting playing with no sound at the moment, since I'm such a huge audio buff for FPS games. But surprisingly able to continue killing these people without much opposition, for what that's worth. This Eclipse or any of the heat-based directive weapons for GS happen to be exceptional at giving you, essentially infinite ammo, as long as you're in a proper situation to take advantage of it. So I do have that working in my favor at the moment. I'm getting a little aggressive because I was getting a little bored with sitting by the spawn room. So if that lightning catches on, I might be in some trouble. Running through 75% of my medkits there.
Generator critical. critical.
Oh. GD 7F. So that was an alright run for no sound. Cool beaners. Yeah, so part of me kind of wants to. I gotta have something. I can't just have awful noise here. One sec. You shouldn't be able to hear any of that, but if for whatever reason you can, since my audio's goofed up, you let me know. I gotta at least have something playing in the background. Make myself crazy. How far back is my delay set? Just on the stream? No, it shouldn't be set at all, unless it's set on the PlanetSide channel and I'm unaware of it. But no, I don't have any set. Like, I don't manually manipulate it at all, so it should be at 0. So whatever the normal. I'm trying to watch the preview here. Yeah, it's probably only like 15-20 seconds behind the usual. Oh God, imprecision! Don't tell me that. For being somebody who's looking forward to that game, I don't know enough about it. I'm assuming you're saying that's what it's at the moment. But is it some sort of thing where you're going to be unable to edit it or anything like that? I would think that they would make a slider for it. But I don't know. You tell me. 'Cause that could be quite the killer. So if anybody has any specific questions pertaining to PlanetSide, or otherwise, I just don't know how well I can answer anything else, let me know. I do see some AC folks. Oh, lots of AC folks. Look at that. Oh man, full squad. PS1 represent. Even though AC is like totally PS2 outfit now. Oh God. I guess they've returned to the purple and teal, at least in some respect. How's Imprecision getting banned? What's going on? Huh. Would give players who know about its existence an advantage. Uh-oh. You weren't kidding about the casual comment. I mean, like, I thought they were going to go for casually accessible, but not, you know, still competitive on the high end, like most of their games have often been, but that's a little worrisome. We'll see. I'm still interested in checking it out, but it may not be what I hoped it would be. I'm not going to just play it for the sake of playing it if I don't enjoy it. Oh boy. What do the ATR and NC weapons need to be unique? I mean, that's a good question. It's like there's only so much that you can do as far as like throwing a ridiculously large magazine on a weapon for TR or making it a shotgun for NC, right? I mean, hard to say. I'm unfortunately, like, my creativity has gone out the window these days. Like, I just, you know, I'm not nearly as creative as somebody like Rel as far as thinking of brand new ideas. I can usually refine existing ideas fairly well, but brand new, I'm not terribly useful for that. But that said, I do agree that it would be nice if there was something subtle enough, like the heat mechanic for VS, but still empowering enough to make it feel distinctly different, rather than, oh, this has high velocity ammo or it usually doesn't. Like, I mean, I do agree that it would be nice to have something like that. But I don't know. They experimented with that with certain things, I guess, certain Empire-specific pistols, or like when they added the trap and, you know, phase shift, and, you know, they've tried, I guess, with different things, and I don't know if there's any one specific mechanic that they've really enjoyed how it worked out, except for maybe the heat mechanic for these 3 weapons. But I don't know. I mean, that's even a good topic for discussion, you know, in the channel itself. I agree that I'd like to see something there. I just don't know what that is. Something very tranquil, like I feel like I'm in a YouTube montage of sorts about this having music on and no game sound at all. I guess it's just not a setting that I usually play. Because, ow. I have on my NC, Kane. Yeah, I mean that's worrisome too, in precision, of course. As much as anybody may want to complain about PlanetSide balance, I mean it's difficult, and I think PlanetSide almost always did a really good job of balance, as well as maintaining really enjoyable gunplay, which is not easy to do. So I can hope, right? You never know.
Generator repaired. Shield generator critical. Generator repaired.
Nice, man. Heavy assault setup for new players. Velvex, any particular empire that you're thinking of? But yeah, also dependent on weapon. If you're talking about default weapons, like brand new players, the default weapons are powerful. But for instance, the NC Saw is going to function considerably different than the Orion, and the T9 Carve kind of falls somewhere in between. Looks like to creep up on the spawn room area again, but I don't know how enjoyable that is.
Imminent success is all but assured.
Huge air carrier canceled. Sor, there hasn't been any official comment on the aircraft carrier, although I know it was originally really just concept art. Very, 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 like the beginnings of development, if even that. So that being said, I'd say it's, I mean, I'm not speaking for the dev team here because I can't, but speaking as a player who's been paying attention to, you know, all of the sorts of updates over the years and stuff, I'd say it's very unlikely that we'll see it anytime soon, if ever. As with a lot of things, some of those much larger plans like naval combat and, you know, things that everybody or a lot of people want, just we may not, or they may not have the resources in light of recent changes to be able to pull off stuff like that, and they can focus on honing in some other things first. So never say never, but I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath for it, unfortunately, at this point in time. There is a lot of other cool stuff coming, though. Some recent updates to the roadmap that could really use some feedback, especially if you feel passionately about 4th Empire, 5th Empire sort of stuff with regard to Black Ops proposal, or Prestige with regard to that. Perhaps even more of a volatile discussion. I, for one, am a fan of a fan of something like the Black Ops proposal. I'm not a fan of something like the Prestige proposal. And I made a, not extremely lengthy, but a couple paragraph post in that roadmap thread, kind of detailing why I didn't think Prestige was a good idea to introduce 2 years plus into the game that has such a heavy reliance on progression systems and unlocks and real money spent and so forth. But alternative advancement systems is always cool, I think. I wouldn't mind seeing some of that in some respect, but I don't think Prestige is the way to go about it. Black Ops, on the other hand, I was under the impression it's not going to function exactly like the PlanetSide 1 Black Ops, if anybody's familiar with that. But, basically you have an option to kind of switch up the norm and help fight for the underdogs and things like that. I don't know. I think that's a cool incentive to counterbalance in-population or underpopulation. It's not a full faction per se. I can get a link to the roadmap stuff here in a moment when I die. I'll give away a polar bear decal and I'll get you a link to the roadmap here next up. I was actually hoping to land on the roof some a little bit. Not what I was planning on here being heavy down here. You can see how much I love Light Assault or just fall into playing Light Assault because I said I was going to work on Beetlejuice Directive and now, 30 minutes later, it's the first time that I spawned as enemy. Started tanking too many bullets there. Let me grab it. Does the old roadmap not link to the correct place anymore? Huh. What you guys doing? That's a little troubling in and of itself. Forgive the taskbar. I don't know why Skype wants to constantly take my D&D off. Makes me a little bit crazy, but whatever. Okay, so here's the roadmap, aka potentially renamed wishlist because we don't know what the roadmap is. And I didn't mean that in a passive-aggressive way, although it came out like that. Those are the things that Luke Sigmund recently added. The high BR goal / prestige threat is the one that I was talking about. BR unlocks is kind of a a la PlanetSide 1, where battle ranks and command rank unlock certain things. They were talking about doing that as a new player experience. I don't know how much it's worth the development time, honestly. And there's something on there with dynamic missions, and then the other thread that I was referring more specifically to. But they do read that stuff. So if you feel passionately one way or another, definitely get your replies in there. What do you mean, Dradini? Also, Velvex, sorry for like answering your question but not answering your question. That was a good time to get sniped. So I'll address that first. NC, I believe you said, assuming you're starting with the default saw, it's probably one of the harder weapons to start out with in the entire game. I think most people would agree with that. It just requires a bit of patience, a bit of knowledge, a bit of skill, a bit of everything to properly control it and make the most of it. Without foregrip and or compensator attachments, it can be difficult for some new players, I think, to control. It just is very punishing if you're moving while you're firing. The reload's punishing. I don't think it should have been the starter weapon, but nonetheless it is. So if you're basing it off of that, it's a bit of a different setup, and I'd recommend just that, grabbing a forward grip, a compensator, a scope of your choosing. I always use 1x scopes for sensitivity purposes, but you're welcome to use whatever. It's the type of weapon you're really using at mid to long range, and only using in short range if you absolutely have to. Its hip fire is horrendous, so I wouldn't worry about the compensator's downside or running a laser sight or anything like that. You can run high velocity ammo if you want. I like it at a higher level, but it does kind of offset the accuracy, for lack of a better word, with it for what that's worth. So it may be something worth purchasing later. Other than that, if you're looking for a weapon upgrade, the Anchor is probably really good overall. Very dominant close quarters. The GD22S is a very similar gun to the Anchor that can be purchased significantly cheaper. Those sorts of weapons, you'd probably run a laser sight, just to have it for close quarters if you need to, but you don't have to. You can still run forward grip if you're an aim down sight sort of player. And other than that, the EM6 is probably my favorite replacement for the saw. That's probably what I would have chosen for the starting NC weapon, either the EM1 or the EM6, but I prefer the EM6. Yeah, I was gonna say, this guy's flying all over the place. Not having my sound does not help with that. Anyway, EM6 is one of my favorites for a gun very similar to the Carve, which is the TR's starting weapon. That kind of gives you a balanced approach at both ranges with an emphasis on medium range. Synergizes really well with the attachment options, much easier to control by default, things like that. And then if you're talking the actual slot items, other than weapons, I almost always go the route of running resist shield with advanced shield capacitor. It's just a preference, and being able to pop a shield wall, forgive the reference, some sort of mitigation, and pop that early in any sort of encounter, ideally before you take the first bit of damage. And you get more effective uptime as well as mitigation out of that, whereas the default nano mesh generator is fine early on, because it provides a substantial benefit, but it should be used more as an absorption shield. You can pop at any point in time. You don't want to pop it too early and waste the duration on it. And that synergizes better with nanoweave armor, in my opinion, or if you're going to roll, a different suit slot, like you want to roll flak armor or, some sort of specific suit slot to a certain need, some sort of support pole or something like that. You can get into adrenaline shield, but that requires a better understanding, better ability to kill people quickly. You can get stuck in a situation where you really have no shield unless you kill somebody, which can leave you high and dry. So I'd recommend that later on if you like that sort of thing, but even for me, I don't really run adrenaline much at all these days. I don't know if that helps. If you're really starved on certs, I'd probably, I guess first I should also say concussive nades, probably the way to go in general. Frags are fine. AV nades were good, and now, wow, I didn't even mean to switch to that, and now are substantially worse at being able to also kill infantry, but they're arguably better at being able to kill maxes and vehicles. Not that that means a whole lot for the vehicle. And med kits are my go-to for the utility slot item, just about anywhere. But you can certainly run a C4 or something like that if you're looking for the ability to have something else to blow up vehicles. And you can change out your rocket launcher, but I really wouldn't do that for quite some time. The default rockets are pretty straightforward, pretty good at most things. What else? I don't even know. If you were literally starting to build a heavy loadout, like you had almost no certs, all the default stuff, I'd probably grab a med kit or two very early on, maybe the first rank or two of nanoweave armor very early on, and just keep my default grenade, keep my default nanite mesh generator, grab a 5 cert scope for my saw early on, and then probably grab a forward grip next. I mean, I'm just running through this really quickly, so in reality I may change that up slightly, but that sounds reasonable to me. If you weren't interested in buying a weapon or didn't have the means to use anything but the default, you can grab some low ranks of things that are especially helpful, and then over time start upgrading them towards max rank. Or if you think you want to switch to resist shield, advanced shield capacitor, you could make that change when you have ample certs and be running like first rank of energy and first 3 ranks of nanoweave without over-investing too much. The alternative, if you do spend any sort of station cash, is that you could absolutely spend station cash on like an Anchor or an EM6 and all of a sudden have a different gun entirely that you're working on unlocks for, and still kind of do the same sort of thing with your certs for the other stuff. But that's neither here nor there. you may have even left the channel by now, but hopefully that helps. Anybody, for that matter. Similar sort of thing for VS or TR. Orion just plays to close quarters much better, and the Carve plays to the mid-range or, you know, a balanced set of ranges a bit better. So take that for what it's worth. Sorry for the, you know, playing Light Assault so much, but at least I get to try out or, you know, mess around with Icarus and the new Eclipse heat mechanic a bit more often. Did I not give away that polar bear decal like I said I was going to? What the hell's wrong with me? I got the roadmap link, but I didn't give that away. I'm terribly sorry. Alright, so I'm going to give that away in like 30 seconds or so. It'll be a code that shows up on the bottom of the screen in a scrolling ticker. First person to type that code into the redeem a code section of the depot in-game or at planetside2.com if you have an interactivation code will receive the decal. Sorry that it's a first-come, first-served basis. I know that isn't the fairest thing in the world, but it's the best that I could think up of, you know, doing on a, you know, in such a situation where I don't really have lengthy time to devote in the middle of the show to giveaways. If you do participate in the giveaways that we do over on my channel at ItZMuRdA.com, we usually use, you know, randomizers and take a little bit more time, and some may argue it's fairer from a probability standpoint. But nonetheless, this is what we've been doing, and I give away. I've been giving away at least 2 things each week for each show Monday night, right here. So there's plenty to go around. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are a subscriber on my channel, over on my stream, automatically earns you a polar bear decal as a way of saying thanks for your support, among other things. You just have to type the code in that's going to appear on the screen. Probably in about 15 seconds or so at this point. You'd either type it in here, or you'd log into your account at planetside2.com. If I need to turn on my mic, I can, but I think it's the same volume it usually is. If you go to planetside2.com and log in, they changed the page a little bit, but log in up top. Right under that, if you hover over login, or if you hover over your account name, if you're already logged in, the first link says enter activation code, and then you just want to type it into that box. And it'll be the same for the snowball gun that I'm going to give away probably in, I don't know, 10-15 minutes or so later in the show.
Clear out of that area.
But yeah, it is the polar bear logo. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and flip that on real quick. So good luck, have fun. Don't be mad. There are plenty of opportunities to win them if you don't get one. But here you go. Enjoy. This is gotten a little bit hairier here. Running with medkit in hand. Widely suggested if you're sprinting through an area where you're likely to get shot, or even just flying as light assault somewhere. Wow! Alright, well I'm dead. there was no coming around that corner. Just in case you need it. This could be helpful. Oh man. Moobot too smart. That'll redirect you, since Josk has not built my website yet. Lol. Not his fault. Well, sort of, but not his fault. That'll redirect you to my Twitch page at the moment, which below the Twitch page has a plethora. Actually, it's hosting this channel at the moment, so you probably have to click the you know, the button on the bottom that says View My Info. Maybe I'll stop hosting it because that's kind of counterintuitive. But anyway, oh, should have just shotgunned them. It has links to all of the social media and things like that. Oh. gonna flip the code off here in a sec, but I will have another code going in the same spot. Well, not the best to be firing midair. We'll have another code about 18 minutes on the show or so. So maybe 10-15 minutes before we're done for the night. I'll give away the snowball gun, which has been included as a seasonal item after holidays past 2 years. So you may have picked it up either in the depot by itself or under a holiday bundle. It's been available in both formats, if you will. Uh-oh. 1%. Yeah, that's the nature of the codes that SOE creates. Unfortunately, I don't have any say over that, but we do give them out often. So I think most, if not all, of the repeat viewers that have watched, numerous episodes by now, here on episode 29, have probably received them by now if they didn't already have them before then. But yeah, the snowball gun has been a seasonal item that you can pick up in the depot. It's not a terribly efficient weapon for killing people, but it can be a lot of fun. There's a title associated with it if you get a silver medal with it. So yeah, give one of those away as well. I'll see if I have anything else in the depths of the code database to give away, to switch it up in the future. But it might be polar bear decals and snowball guns for some time here, depending on how many more snowball gun codes I have. The floating duck syndrome going on there. Oh, good, Lice. Thanks, man. Yeah, that was a birthday gift. Very happy with it. It's no complaints at all. I mean, I know it's kind of the standard for a pro gamer chair these days, or whatever you want to call it. It seems like everybody who's doing streams or YouTube videos or whatever seems to have one nowadays. But yeah, no. Not only is it aesthetically pleasing, but I've been enjoying it. It's probably just how I sit, but the rubber armrests, rub against my elbows pretty hard if I have to have one criticism of it, but that's the case with pretty much any chair. If it's not rubber, if it's cloth, I just end up wearing it down from overuse, so I don't know what's worse. But yeah, no, quality's great, comfortable, looks good, can't complain. I know they're pricey, but yeah, I mean, it certainly gives engineer more utility. I don't really see why not. I know it could be overused to an extent. I don't know what sort of restrictions, if any, would need to be placed on it. Like, naturally, I would assume the person would have to actively be an engineer, not switch classes after they drop it or anything like that. So the maxes up here. So it may just require some tuning of the minor details, but I wouldn't have a terrible problem with it. Wow, Max is so persistent. That was probably like his first kill in like 25 minutes because he's just sitting on a roof as a scat Max. It's hilarious. Love it. But I'm not particularly for it. But I'm not particularly against it. I guess no surprise there. It's not, it's pretty few and far between that I'm so passionately for or against something. And it's probably happened, a handful of times over the past couple of years. Maybe a few features that I was so in favor of, and a few features that I was vehemently opposing. But mostly I try to see both sides of it, and I'm kind of fine either way, which may or may not be good, who knows. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't particularly bother me or anything like that. I don't know that I would really utilize it at all, personally, that sort of functionality. And you need to be careful a little bit when you, I guess, homogenize or, I don't know what the word is necessarily that I'm looking for, but I think you understand. I know it still requires an engineer, but when you all of a sudden start spreading that, you know, those special abilities across other classes, I don't know, it's just, I guess, a fine line that needs to be walked sometimes. Does your arm get tired? In general, after long periods of, you know, ferociously playing, sure, just because I play on such a low sensitivity that I'm making very large arm movements quite frequently. But in general, no. I hopefully still young enough that that's not, I mean, it's not been an issue. Oh, that sounded really cool. And you know, just kind of, I guess, trained myself over the many, many years playing long hours. Popping medkits in combat like that, if you will, or transitional, you know, you think you're taking some damage, you don't know how much you're going to take, just to get you to safety, definitely worthwhile, I think. I do that often, just always trying to think when I'm in a potential situation of any sort of danger, make sure I've got one primed, or I'm ready to switch and pop it real quick, even if it turns out I wouldn't have needed it. It can often be pretty helpful. I enjoy some of the longer fights, just depending, Menu. It can go either way. Some of the fights, especially at biolabs, boy, they can drag on forever and be just so stale and frustrating and boring. At the same time, I've had some like 3-ways at tower fights and other defensives that have just been so fun that I've wanted them to just last forever. So I don't know. I definitely can go both ways for me in that regard. But then again, I'm not somebody terribly focused on the capture or defensive territory, and I really just want to, you know, have a good time and so forth. So I can understand how it would be more frustrating if you placed a larger emphasis on some of that other stuff. But I've had some really fun long fights and some really boring long fights that I usually try to move on from as soon as I start giving an inclination that that's the case. That was some interesting client side.
Victory has not eluded us. Fight harder.
What does low sensitivity help you with? I mean, hard to hone in on any one thing. I'm not going to say that low sensitivity is the way to go or that high sensitivity is the way to go. I know so many people over the years that have been extremely successful at both ends of the spectrum and everywhere in between. So it's really kind of a personal preference what you get used to and what you feel comfortable with, and just kind of remaining consistent beyond that as much as possible. There's somebody still in there. That's quite the head glitch spot. Oh boy. So I could potentially, I was going to say if I'm smart enough, use Icarus to But yeah, I mean, low sensitivity generally will help you be more precise, but require greater movement to react to things that are behind you and things like that. I mean, that's, I guess, simplifying it as much as possible. But it's just what you get used to. They both can work. People with extremely fast sensitivity have an easier time turning around and stuff like that. But people who get used to it are also spot on, twitch aimers, whereas people with low sensitivity maybe have an easier time aiming more precisely. But people who get used to it, like me, still know exactly how much I have to, flick to make a 180-degree turn and stuff like that. So it's something you get used to. I've been I've preferred low sensitivity personally, and I've been playing with relatively the same sensitivity for as long as I can remember. I wouldn't recommend going quite as low as mine is, but I still like it in general. As far as the shield armor combo, resist ASC definitely helps me more. Even though I'm a very aggressive playstyle, it allows me to have minimal downtime, getting my shield back, and just be more of a tank out there in the open, mitigating damage as opposed to absorbing it. ASC, or rather adrenaline, is interesting because it requires you to be aggressive enough to pull in a reasonable number of kills in a short amount of time, and may work really well in like a tower battle with a shotgun or something like that, or like an MCG for TR, for instance. But at the same time requires you to like kind of balance your aggression to an extent, in order to kind of keep it moving at such a pace that's comfortable for you. Because you can go balls to the wall, kill 4 people really quick, and then if you have no targets, you may end up with a shield that's very, very low, and your next guy comes around the corner and you have to kill him in order to even be able to use your shield. You can find yourself in some unpredictable situations that I didn't really quite like the randomness of. And I think the same can kind of be said in a different light for using ASC or nano armor cloak, either of those types of things outside of the the resist shield pairing sort of situation, because while at face value they would seem like they would benefit more aggressive playstyles, I think in reality you need to be aggressive enough, but you also need to be passive enough to wait, for the opportune time to do kind of like a hit and run sort of striking. Whereas I'm just kind of Rambo balls to the wall most of the time, and as such, I try to either get as much mitigation possible, be it through nanowave armor and all other setups, or through resist shield and heavy setup. If resist shield and nanowave armor stacked, I would still use nanowave armor. Don't get me wrong, but since it doesn't, resist shield is a better mitigator, so I'd rather use ASC. ASC so happens to give the benefit of synergizing with it, so that while you're mitigating damage, you can poke behind cover for 4 seconds, and all of a sudden have your shield back, your overshield back, that is, while your resist shield is also coming back on. So it just has a good synergy between the two, I think. Sorry if I missed any questions or anything in there. I know there was the what is PlanetSide question, with some folks are asking. You can check it out free to play at planetside2.com or on Steam. It's a massively multiplayer online first-person shooter, really one of its kind, other than PlanetSide 1 that came before it. Really quite interesting, quite unique, and I think worth a try from anybody for that matter. Mechanically, it'll play very similar to a game like Battlefield, if you're familiar, as far as like the gunplay goes and stuff like that. But on such a massive scale that just like one of these tiny areas on a much larger map could be the size of the largest Battlefield maps. So it's pretty interesting in that respect. That you've got the persistent massive world, in addition to progression elements that you have in a typical MMO, with still enough of an emphasis on skill where it's not like max level players or killing low level players, just because you don't really have much of that. And yeah, it is in closed beta on PlayStation 4 right now. Moving to an open beta and ultimate launch in the hopeful near future, if that's your cup of tea instead of PC. But yeah, I think it's got a lot to offer. I definitely recommend you checking it out. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I do my normal stream over at ItZMuRdA.com most of the other days of the week, time permitting. But I'm always available if anybody has any questions. Happy to try to help. Only got about, I don't know, 5 minutes or so left on the show, so next step here, I'm going to give away a snowball gun. And we'll go from there. But this show happens on the official PlanetSide 2 channel Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Mountain. Can't forget about you guys. And always happy to help here, but we carry the same sort of, you know, I guess, the same sort of show without it being an official show over on my channel other days of the week, so please feel free to tune in over there as well. Here is the deep freeze code. Bam, sorry for short notice. I will grab it real quick just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. Like I said, it's not very effective for 3-hit body shot kill. So you're not going to be... There, I got a hit on that guy. Bit of a drop associated with it. There you go, headshot. Obviously, if you get 2 headshots or a headshot and a body shot, you'll get the kill. But to give you an idea, it can be fun. If you get the silver medal with it for 60 kills, you get the SnowBalla cosmetic title. So that's cool. It's a seasonal item that's just historically been available during the winter months, so you probably won't see it outside of getting it in a giveaway or something like that through a code until probably next November, December, something like that again, if I had to guess based on how things have gone in the past. But I should have some more to give away in future shows as well, so don't fret if you don't get this one. Congrats, Kelly. If you are trying to maximize kills with it as quickly or as efficiently as possible, you may want to consider whoa, that was really bad on my part. Running whatever setup floats your boat with a high power output weapon in your primary, and then switching to the snowball gun when you know that it only requires 1 snowball to kill them. You can do it with a knife. As he gets on the thing. I don't even think that was intentional. I wonder if he's going to come back. You can do it with a knife. It's not always going to kill. It would kill an infiltrator, but not necessarily everybody else with more effective health. You can do it with a shotgun as long as it's not a pump that would kill them in 1 shot. You can do it with a bolt-action sniper rifle, shoot them first, and then switch to your pistol. Or you could just try to go for the multiple hits with the snowball gun, but it is significantly more difficult and frustrating if you're just trying to get the title out of the way real quick. But have some fun with it either way. Yeah, that was a pretty big fail. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I mean, I didn't have like a semi-auto shotgun or a sniper rifle or any of the things I was talking about, but I was like, oh, I'll do it with a knife. And it's an infiltrator. And he strafes right over the jump pad. I totally don't think that was intentional, but he lucked out. Wow. Oh, 100 kills. Good ending point, right? 123 in 56 minutes. Not too bad. We had some fun for no sound. Almost on our way to the Eclipse Axiom, so that's cool. I'll work more on the some heavy stuff next go around, and I will play some other Empires too. So forgive me for some of these shows where I only focus on one. I do play all 3, and I want to spread the love equally in that respect. But on that note, we are just about at the end of the show. It's crazy how fast time flies, but I will be streaming on my channel some other nights this week. Things have been super busy, so I apologize for any delays or streams that don't take place. I try to stream most other weeknights as long as the time is there, and I will see many of you guys there over at ItZMuRdA.com. Link that again in the chat for anybody who's interested. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks to anybody and everybody who followed over on my channel. I know Akili and Kamenu and Oshi, I saw a few follows come in, so I really do appreciate that. And I will follow up with you guys there. If not, episode 30 of L2PS2 should be next Monday, March 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern, so I will see you guys then. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.